Hello and welcome to CNN News 18 with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Breaking news coming in at the top of the bulletin, where we are getting first visuals of the accused Shankar Mishra, who has been arrested in connection to that shocking incident which took place back in November 2022, where he urinated on a co-passenger aboard an Air India flight from New York to Delhi. This incident took place in November. Those are the visuals of the accused. His name is Shankar Mishra. He's a former vice president at Wells Fargo, also served as a former vice president at Citibank. And now he has been arrested. He was picked up by the police in Bengaluru. Now remember, Shankar Mishra was evading police, and he was in a guest house in Bengaluru where he was staying alone. Those are the reports that we are getting. He will be produced before the Patiala House Court shortly. Now remember, he'd been staying in that guest house alone to evade police arrest. These are the first visuals we are getting of Shankar Mishra after his arrest. Remember, he was picked up by the Delhi police in a midnight operation and brought to Delhi early today morning, and now he will be produced before the Patiala House Court in just a short while. We'll try to get more details from our reporters, but these are the first visuals of the accused Shankar Mishra. Remember, a former vice president at Wells Fargo, as well as a former vice president at Citibank, and he has been in the news now for that shocking incident which took place back in November in 2022, where he urinated on a co-passenger aboard a business class Air India flight from New York to Delhi. He urinated on a senior citizen, and remember, a lot of questions are being also asked about the Air India crew, because all they did was give a fresh pair of pajamas and slippers to that senior citizen lady, and she was told to sit back on that seat that was soiled by this man, Shankar Mishra, who urinated on that seat. And remember, they also had WhatsApp chats between them where he paid about 15,000 rupees for her dry cleaning, but now he has been booked by the Delhi police for insulting the modesty of a woman, as well as obscenity, and now he will be produced before the Patiala House Court in just a short while. I'm joined by my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar, who's tracking the entire legal angle surrounding this case. Ananya, you also had a chat with Shankar Mishra's lawyer, who says that there is another side to this entire story, which will all come to light once the proceedings begin. Take us through the defense arguments coming in from his legal team.
Well, remember, Ayushman, we had played out a statement of their lawyers wherein it was clearly mentioned that the WhatsApp conversation between this particular accused person and that 72-year-old lady clearly revealed that he actually compensated her with rupees 15,000. In fact, it was also seen that how the clothes and the bags were refurbished, were cleaned up, and then was sent back. However, the circumstances of this whole particular case or the incident actually changed in December, when the daughter of that particular lady messages the particular accused, in this case Mr. Shankar Mishra, that my mother is very traumatized with that particular incident, and that's the reason I'm returning you this money and also filing a formal complaint in this case. So this is, and also the defense of these lawyers is clearly that the attempt of filing this complaint, the whole action of filing this complaint, is malicious in nature, when already a compensation was given out, already a consensus was reached between both these parties. But also at the same point of time, we have to remember the charges that have been invoked in this particular case. It is outraging the modesty of a woman. It is also about how unruly behavior and also the violation of the airport rules is there. So though these offences are not something that go on to a life imprisonment or a very stringent punishment, securing a bail in this particular case can be a pretty much easier task, because remember that this is a particular case wherein this particular case based on a lot of electronic kind of evidence, and because there is no eyewitness testimony to this particular case, so it becomes a little more different. But then the big questions that are need to be asked is, what was the airline's discrepancy in this? Why were the pilots who had vetoed in this particular case also what was the airline staff doing, because remember that any kind of this incident has to be reported immediately to the DGCA, has to be immediately reported to the higher management of this particular airlines, but then nothing of this happened. The statements are being recorded of the airline crew, also of in fact those two pilots who had vetoed that particular decision in this regard. So a big question that still remains to be answered is what was the airlines doing. Apart from that, now he will be produced before Miss Anamika, who is the Metropolitan Magistrate here, because remember he had to be produced before Miss Nabila Wali, who is the Chief Metropolitan Magistrate. However, since she is on a maternity leave, the link judge is Miss Anamika, and that's the reason why Mr. Shankar Mishra would be produced here. It is around 12 to 2 p.m. is what we are hearing from our sources, that he will be brought to the Delhi's Patiala House Court and would be produced before the court. The police would be telling as to how he was arrested and from where he was arrested, and the whole details of this case, what has the police investigated. Because remember, the police was actually relying heavily on the technical surveillance, and then Mr. Shankar Mishra was arrested yesterday. So definitely it can be said that the police's efforts have actually come to a conclusion, as Shankar Mishra has now been arrested. But what is this whole case all about? The lot of questions which are to be answered. It is the police which will answer this with its investigation, and particularly in a charge sheet whenever it's filed. Ayushman.
Right, and let's take you through the sections under which this man has been booked. 294, obscene act in a public place. 354, assault or criminal force to a woman with intent to outrage her modesty. 509, gesture or act intended to insult the modesty of a woman. And 510, misconduct in a public place by a drunken person. These are the charges under which he has been booked, and as my colleague Ananya was pointing out, he will be produced before the Patiala House Court just shortly. I'm also joined by my colleague Akshara, who's reporting from Bengaluru. Remember, it was the Sanjay Nagar area in Bengaluru where there's a guest house from where he was picked up, and my colleague Akshara is reporting from Sanjay Nagar. Akshara, over to you. What's the latest from Ground Zero? What more details can you get for us when it comes to the guest house where Shankar Mishra was staying and the midnight arrest which took place, after which he was brought to the national capital?
Well, yes, we are right here in front of Ramki apartment here in Sanjay Nagar, Bengaluru, where Sanjay Mishra, Air India case accused, was staying here. Yesterday night, as per the police sources, the Sanjay Nagar police station received an intimation letter from the Delhi police, following which they arrived here at the midnight with CCB officials and found Sanjay Mishra at this particular Ramki apartment, and took him to custody during the midnight, and also following which they also had received an information and following which they came here at this Ramki apartment, where he was trying to evade the police, and he was absconding and staying at this apartment, Ramki apartment, right here.
Right, and Akshara, what more details can you get for us when it comes to this apartment where he was staying? Is he the owner of this apartment? Does a friend of his own this apartment? Because that puts into question that someone was trying to protect him as he was trying to evade arrest.
Well, you see, right now the details, final details are yet to be out regarding whether he was assisted by a friend or anyone when he was absconding trying to evade the police, and the residents here are also not commenting on the issue. They're distancing themselves from the issue. Once the investigation continues and Sanjay Mishra gives us the details, we'll get to know the exact details, whether he was assisted by anyone, his friends or anyone, and was given a place here in order to evade the police.
Right, and Akshara, what details are you getting about that midnight arrest? What time did the police reach this apartment complex to arrest Shankar Mishra, and did he come peacefully with the police? What more details are you getting about the arrest itself?
Well, from the information that's available, the Bangalore police and the Delhi police carried out a joint investigation, and yesterday midnight they got to know the details of the apartment where he was staying, and they sent an intimation letter to the Sanjay Nagar police station here that they have information regarding Sanjay Mishra's, he was staying here, and following which a few of CCB officials also accompanied the Delhi police, and they came to this apartment, and during the midnight they entered the apartment and arrested Sanjay Mishra and took him to the police custody and brought to Delhi for further investigation. So that's the details that are available right now.
Right, I'm also joined by